Been a couple of A-plus roommates. I hate to do this because you guys have been cool with everything. You're cool with my band. You're cool with that English accent phase, remember that?
We're literally out of milk.
And that theater troupe.
Hey, down up. Hey, could you give me a second, please?
But State Farm's helped me be really smart with my money, and I got my own pet now. Oh, no big deal. Mom, Dad, my new place doesn't allow pets. Dylan's gonna have to stay here. One love, Pops.
Talk to State Farm agent Margie Gray or Bill Thompson in Indiana for everything from renter's insurance to banking.
Nobody ever wants to lose like that, Coach. But, I mean, what do you tell your guys after a game like that?
Well, it's just something they'll remember forever. You don't play in games like that very often. A lot of players never will play in a 5 overtime game. But, you know, we had some chances. We definitely had opportunities to put it away in regulation, overtime, you know, and we turned the ball over once on, you know, we were down inside there. That game's over, I believe, if we don't turn it over inside the 10. But you got to suck it up, and instead in 2 or 3 plays they go down and score. But right there we're still in it. We stuck around. It was 28-28, and you know, they never quit, and that's the big thing. You know, you have a 28-12 lead and you give it up, and they could have quit. And we tried. You know, it's tough when you're on the road anywhere when you're playing a good team, and you know, we stayed the course as long as we could. But you know, it was tough. You know, we had an opportunity. We've never missed an extra point all year. We got that once. You know, I don't know. It looked like our kicker ended up on the ground. I don't know if it was roughing there or not. We'll find out when we watch the film. I know he was on the ground at the end, but I honestly didn't see it at the time. But he said he did. So, you know, those are little things that, you know, could change the game in our favor. But you know, you got to give credit to Purchase Line. They kept battling back, and they're a good team. You know, last week's score didn't show anything of what their real team is. You know, Ligonier dominated them, but they also, I think, with their injuries that they had last week at the last second, kind of threw them for a loop right before the game. So we knew we were going to have to play a pretty, you know, controlled game, and we did a nice job on the offensive side and had a couple nice stops defensively. But again, you know, this is one they'll never forget. It would have been a lot better to be on the other end of it.
You guys were picking apart their defense there with the pass in the flat a little bit in the first half, and then you kind of went to the run a little bit more in the second half. What changed?
You know, we were able to, you know, they spread it out a little bit more for us. I mean, they had 8 and 9 guys in the box the whole time, and they're trying to play man. And we, you know, Dakota Sunday is a great receiver, and you know, we're in a situation with Noah Sleesman being out. We were going to have Dakota play tailback, and then we found a way to get through with the Ronde. He rolled his knee, and then we came back with Joe Falk, who, you know, Joe missed a couple days this week of practice. We weren't planning on using him, but we were to the point where, you know, he's healthy, but we weren't planning on using him, but we had to go to him. And he did a nice job. He's a strong running back, and, you know, but again, they opened it up a little bit more for us because of the pass. And Ryan played a heck of a game throwing the football, so.
And how do you stop somebody like Shamar Campbell?
You know, you got to watch his belt, and we were in the backfield quite a bit, and just, you know, you don't watch his belt, you're not going to tackle. And he's a great athlete, but you know, I don't care who the athlete is back there. If you don't watch his belt, and that's our biggest problem. It's been our problem all year, and until we get that rectified, I don't think that's going to change. I don't care who the running back is. Next week will be just as bad with Smith if we don't find a way to focus on the belly button as opposed to looking at the head and shoulders and just running past things. If we don't break down, we're going to be in the same boat. I promise you that next week. So, you know, it's things that can be corrected if they realize the importance of that breakdown. And right now, you know, we've stayed in games because of our offense, but we have to find a way to get it done on a defensive end. But like I said, we had some great stops here defensively. So, you know, but you're not going to stop a kid like him if you're not making the tackles, sure.
And just as a football guy, how cool was it to watch these young kids, 2 young teams come out here and show this kind of heart?
Oh, and that's what I told these guys. I said, you know, we're young, but, you know, to never quit and to keep fighting. And, you know, they just made a couple more plays than we did. So, you know, it was fun. We were on the sidelines. We were smiling. We were happy, you know, because even when it would go back and forth and we had opportunities, we found a way to stay in it. They found ways to stay in it and prolong the game. So, you know, it is. It's good to see our guys, and especially both young teams, stepped up and they kept fighting. So that's all you can ask from your team. As long as they don't quit, you know, you can't ask for anything more.
All right.